What is going on, YouTube people? Neo here. Gonna talk a little CGC today. And I have a question for all you boys and girls out there in the comic book world. Should CGC pause incoming submissions? That's what we're gonna dig into today. So like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. And let's go ahead and dive in. I personally don't grade comics. I buy already graded. I am not up on how to evaluate a raw book to send in and all that. I have raw books. I have raw books from my childhood. They're not in the best shape. I did not take care of them the greatest. So I've never really considered sending in anything for grading. My entry into the comic book market is to just buy already graded. I will pay the iron price, let someone else make the money off of me, and take the already graded book and hope to profit off that, or just collect it or whatever later in life. I do not have the time to learn that. Card grading, I'm pretty decent at. Comic book grading, I'm completely clueless at. I understand clean press the whole 9 yards, but I just don't have the time and space for it. So I buy already graded. But I know the comic book world in general are going through a lot of the same struggles that we went through in the sports card world. So right now, CGC is drastically backed up. I have their submission page open here. As you can see, they are now opening packages from the week of May 3rd. So they are a full 2 months behind just in opening packages. Then the timers start. 101 days for modern, 141 days for economy, 85 days for standard, 12 days for express, and you can get a little faster times on fast track times. And I don't believe that includes, if you want cleaning and pressing and all that stuff included in. I believe that backs it up even farther. Please do not quote me on that. Once again, I do not necessarily know the intricacies of submitting books to CGC, but I think I have an interesting perspective because we went through this with sports cards. I lived through this very thing. And you could see the parallels. They're nearly identical. So last year, sports cards exploded. Everyone wanted graded cards. Everyone started dumping everything onto the sports card graders. PSA, BGS, SGC, CSG, CGC's sister company opened up. They got dumped on immediately. HGA, a new player, they got dumped on immediately. They all drastically fell behind. They all took different measures, most of them increasing costs, which I know CGC just did a little bit ago, to essentially help stem the tide of submissions to various degrees or another. In some cases that helped. In most cases it didn't. SGC's case, it worked recently, but they really jacked the price. I think they went like 4x their grading price. And for those not familiar, PSA would be the equivalent to CGC. They're the king of the sports card world in regards to resale value, just like CGC is in the comic book world. And they got drastically backed up, and into this year they kept falling farther and farther behind, and the backlog continued to build, much like we're seeing with CGC right now. And then we saw another parallel where a group came in earlier this year, an investment group came in, led by Nat Turner, and purchased PSA to infuse them with a bunch of money to be able to expand capacity, this, that, and the other thing, much like we just saw with Blackstone doing the exact same thing with CGC. Now, one of the first things they did was a price increase. Beginning of March, they increased prices by a fair margin to help slow down submissions so they could try to get caught back up again. So I guess the first thing is I will be curious, once Blackstone takes over, do whatever they want to do they immediately increase prices? And I don't know what a fair price would be. I don't know that they care what a fair price is, but they're using it as a way to pump the brakes so they can play catch up. So I would not be surprised if we see a CGC price increase once Blackstone takes over. The more intriguing thing and the point of this entire video is What PSA ended up doing, that price increase did not work. In fact, it made things worse because the news got out and everyone submitted their cards to PSA, creating an even larger backlog. It was so big, in fact, the local post office ran out of space and PSA ran out of space to accept new packages because that much stuff got submitted to them within a 1 week period because everyone was trying to race to beat the price hike. Fast forward a month later, and they ended up completely closing submissions down, except for their highest level tiers, which was Super Express, which was $300 a card. Would probably be the equivalent of a Express or walkthrough level of service on the comic book side. And it's been closed since I believe that was April 1st when PSA shut down. And they just, at the beginning of July, opened back up their next tier down, which they called Express. Their high tier was Walkthrough, then they had Super Express and Express. Walkthrough and Super Express stayed open. They just reopened Express just now. So, and that was in an effort to stem the tide and get caught up because they had a massive backlog reaching far into last year. Should so the question is, should CGC just shut down modern economy and standard submissions and say no more, at least for a while? We need time. We need to call timeout. We need timeout. We need to get caught up. We need to bring in new staff. We need to train. We need to expand facilities. We need a chance to catch our breath, implement new processes, systems, machines, whatever. And the only way to do that is to stop accepting submissions for the first three entry level submission levels. Just keep Express open and keep Walkthrough open to help stem the tide. Maybe you end up having to shut down Express too. I don't know. Maybe you leave Express open. But once again, I'm not like, I don't know how many people are submitting at Express level. I guess if you have something big at $120 a book, plus shipping, plus fees, plus taxes, plus insurance and all that stuff, that gets pretty pricey. So you have to have something fairly decent to get in at that price point. So shut everything down, shut down modern, shut down economy, shut down standard. And, for 2-3 months, whatever it is, and get caught up. Do you think that is something they should do? First off, do you think CGC should pause accepting submissions for the 3 base levels, just like PSA did, and just like other companies? Beckett has recently done the same thing, which is CBCS's parent company or sister company, if you will. So they've done it on that side. I don't know how bad CBCS is backed up. I don't follow their stuff very often. I never really looked to buy their books. So, but should CGC shut down? Essentially, pause submissions, I guess is the correct term, in an effort to get caught back up again. Because they keep accepting stuff and the times just keep getting longer and longer and longer. They're obviously not playing catching up, and the backlog continues to build as the demand for graded comic books increases by the hour, it feels like. Now, the comic book market has cooled off a little bit. Prices have come down on some stuff, not everything. Plenty of books are still spiking. A lot of Spider-Man stuff is down after the beginning of the year craze. Spider-Man kind of led the beginning of the craze back in February and March. A lot of stuff that spiked off, I think, was led by ASM 300, Ultimate Fallout 4, and then the other Spider books went with it. ASM 361, 316, 252, all the Edge of the Spider-Verse stuff with Spider-Gwen, like all the more modern stuff. That was kind of the time of Spider-Man. That stuff faded off. Then kind of the X-Men came into play. And then in the meantime, you still had other stuff spiking up here and there. And now some X-Men stuff starting to cool a little bit. Giant Size is falling off just a tiny little bit. Hulk 181 is slowing down a little bit. But other stuff is taking off with Spec and the normal, Marvel shenanigans with the MCU and Loki going on right now, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff spiked back when that show was hot, and people will begin specking on Eternal stuff. And if something sneaky comes in Black Widow, the Marvel machine moves on, and then we'll have a fresh batch of Star Wars stuff coming in the fall and winter. So the comic book market in general is still going extremely strong. We're just seeing ebbs and flows in prices. But the demand is being pushed and generated by graded comic books. That has 100% pushed everything. And the demand for grading has increased exponentially, leading CGC not to be able to keep up. In my opinion, and I'm looking at this from a semi outside perspective, based on what I've seen on the card side, they should probably pause submissions for the first 3 grading tiers and play catch up. Take a breath, get your bearings, and then slowly start to reopen submissions. And I'm sure it would be a rough process. People would not like it. The internet would be mad. The internet's mad about pretty much everything anyway, no matter what they do. So people would not be happy about it. I don't know that it would have any direct effects on the comic book market, except for the super modern stuff coming out. There would not be anywhere to grade that stuff. If it happened, you would probably see what we saw on the card side of things. So PSA shut down, and what happened was their competitors got flooded and got put even more behind. So if CGC shuts down, CBCS, anyone that wants to grade something fast, is now going to turn to them, and they would get overwhelmed, and you would see the same problem happen with them. It's exactly what we saw in the sports card world. And like I said, watching the CGC message boards, watching the comic book Facebook groups, the parallels are stunning on how close yet how different these two markets are. I come at it primarily from the sports card side of things and have dove into comic books over the last year and a half, more so the last 6 to 8 months. Everything that we saw in the sports card market over the last year and a half, you guys are like 6 months behind us in regards to what we're seeing with the supporting industries and companies that help prop up the comic book market as a whole. So once again, I'll be very curious. Let me know down below, should they pause submissions for the bottom 3? Because there's no good way to get caught up. Once you have the backlog, you have the backlog. Imagine trying to onboard new people, put in new processes, new tech, whatever, and then every day just piles of UPS, FedEx, USPS packages are coming in the back door. And on the other side of the plant, only a certain percentage of those are filtering back out. To me, the only way you fix that is you hit the timeout and get caught up. But I don't know that they'll do that. I'll be very curious to see, now that they have a new ownership, if they follow the exact same steps that PSA did. In my opinion, just skip the price increase and just go straight to calling a timeout. I'd say, hey, give us 3 months. We'll get caught back up again. And then, maybe you open up standard level service, and kind of go from there, working your way down. So, because I don't know how else you fix it. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting backlogged, because the demand for graded comics right now is absolutely insane. So I'll be very curious to see what they do with this new infusion of money. But I think in the meantime, they should strongly consider calling a timeout. That's all I got for you guys and girls today. Be very curious for your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not. We will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.